Happy Wednesday, John. So, I'm really bad at making these videos. Um, so I'm just gonna do this in one take, and it's probably gonna be really bad, but I also don't have anything to talk about, so really bad, hey. Yeah, so I was watching this thing on Vice, and I'll link to it, in the description, but it was a series on, or just an episode on, oil pipelines, and I was thinking about it because it kind of drove me a little nuts that basically the entire episode everybody was like, oh, yeah, it's somebody else's job to, like, make sure that this oil pipeline isn't going to leak all over the place and ruin the environment and kill people and, like, cause people to get sick and kill animals and all this other stuff, right? And it's frustrating to hear that from people who are supposed to be in charge of, like, you know, making sure that these things don't happen. But I was trying to, like, think through, like, okay, logically, what happens in a system like this, right? Like, how could we maybe fix it? And I was thinking, like, what is really the problem? And I'm not saying this like, oh man, I've thought about this for forever. I've thought about it for, like, maybe 24 hours tops, and it was, back in my mind while I was not really working. What is the problem, I guess, and maybe this is more a discussion point than a suggestion, with giving anyone the power to basically say, hey, this seems wrong, and to essentially just to give people more power to, like, say, hey, this needs to get looked at, this is wrong, right? Because there are probably plenty of people who are capable of making an informed decision about whether or not a pipeline is going to burst or whether or not something is safe. And if they have reason to suspect that something is not safe, it seems like right now they're very much not in an empowered position. They can't really do anything about it. They can maybe tell somebody, and they probably won't be taken seriously, or even if they are, like, it's not, I don't know, it just didn't really seem like in the episode that anybody could really do much of anything, which is super dysfunctional, and it's unfortunate that we actually have these agencies, because I feel like if we didn't have the agencies, and they were as empowered as they are now by not existing, then, nobody would expect them to do it, and so we'd have more, hopefully we'd have more, like, other kinds of oversight, or we'd get more upset about these things. But really, it just seems like everybody kind of shifts the blame around because they can, because there's all these different groups that are supposed to have authority but don't really have authority or don't have enough people to exercise their authority, and it's such a mess. And so it seems like if you maybe say, hey, as a stopgap, because, the government can't actually police all these, like, for this particular instance, it's oil pipelines, but there's tons of other examples of this, right? And, like, oh, okay, so there's, 2,000 oil pipelines or whatever it was in the episode, and there's 200 inspectors, right? Whatever that number is, it's absurd, and it was ridiculous, and there was no way that anybody could actually do, a thorough job on everything because they just didn't have the people. So you would think that if we gave power to, like, average ordinary people who might have the background because they work in the oil industry or because they do whatever, right? Basically, maybe it's more along the lines of taking the idea of, like, whistleblowing, right? So, like, somebody that's working at BP or Exxon or something like that and sees something and they're like, hey, this is really bad, maybe we should fix it. Or, like, hey, I just worked on this other pipeline because I had to clean up after the fact that it spilled, right? And this other pipeline has the exact same signs, and it's the exact same age, and it's kind of doing the same things. Maybe this is going to lead to a spill, right? To have those people be empowered and not, like, threatened with the loss of their job. Like, maybe what it is like, hey, if what you're going to do by whistleblowing ends up being accurate and true and you're not wasting everybody's time, then you are rewarded, or maybe at the very least protected from getting fired, or something like that. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, and I'm probably getting close to my time limit, so I'm going to leave it at that. And if you want to maybe respond to it and maybe talk about what you think, hopefully I'll see your video soon, and I'll see you in a week.